Hello, internet xylophone lovers. Um, my name's John Kulas. I am a 20-year professor of industrial statistical applications, and for the last 6 or 7 years, I've also been using R to author things, websites and slide decks and academic papers, technical reports, feedback reports, that kind of thing. Anything, really. Um, this is going to be interesting. This is nothing to do with using R as an authoring platform, but my it's kind of cool feedback on tell from the screen share that the it's not a computer issue, it's a monitor issue. Um, but fitting for Halloween, it's been taken over by some sort of spirit here. It doesn't seem to want to operate. Every week we get together. When I say we, I mean me and some collaborators on authoring projects. We get together and we just kind of hang out and hold these what we're calling open office hours to provide a resource to other people who might be interested. Many good resources out there and available for using R to author Quarto R Markdown primarily, and just sort of available if anyone is out there at different stages of using R as an authoring platform. If you have questions about how to get over the hump on something or just want to bend someone's ear on an idea, that's kind of what we do here. Is we just hang out for an hour and do something using R as an authoring platform. The what we've also been doing on a weekly basis is we've actually been taking a feature, just a focused aspect of R and authoring, and we've kind of just explored it. And so today's feature focus is going to be a continuation of last week's. Last week's we looked at how to have a little more control and customization over navigating your slide presentations. And so these arrows that you're seeing on my slide and that I only occasionally see because my screen keeps going dead, these are visual cues that we can navigate these slides. And you're going to see that we actually last week we for the first time really kind of started to mess with these a little bit, and we no longer are limited just to horizontal scrolling. As you see here, there's an option to go left. If I hit that, there's an option to go right. You also see some animation there, and that's a feature that we also week's slide deck. I'm sure we'll take it out eventually because otherwise we're going to need some Dramamine, I think, as we navigate these. As we test new features and try new things with these authoring platforms, is that keep it simple, stupid kind of perspective is probably smart. And I know one of the ours an authoring platform, Yiwei, and I'm probably mispronouncing that, but he used to be an R Studio employee and he still contributes to packages and products. He always had a very strong philosophy on not getting too fancy with stuff. See, even though I think it's kind of neat because it's a brand new toy for us, it's not something that we'll probably keep as part of our kind of standard presentation of. But because we do these feature foot that way, kind of in spirit with just office hours where this professor and the students sit down and maybe problem solve something. Because it is open-ended and exploratory, every week we do a more linearly presented and packaged app of what actually happened last week and what we went over. Um, and this is going to be a real challenge with my monitor just blanking out on me periodically. One of the things that I kind of came to the realization of today, and I knew this before, but I hadn't really seen it. I hadn't seen it in action really, or hadn't really noticed it in action. Is these emojis that we're using? Um, when they communicate to a browser, their communication to the browser is just saying, "This isn't exactly what I want, but give me something in the flavor of this." And so, these two globes that you see here, these are the same emoji specification in the script, but they're being rendered a little bit differently in the browser, and it's kind of neat. I know not all emoji specifications that we have do this, but some of them do. Some of them have a list of possibilities, and it's not just one static thing. And so you're actually, I don't know why I thought this was so neat, but structure of words that we use to ask for these, but we're actually seeing slightly different renderings of the globes on the left and the globe on the right. So you see North and South America on the right, and you see uh, the 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 Australia and Eurasia. I knew that that could happen with certain things that we ask for in terms of emojis, but I hadn't seen it with the globe specification before, and in particular the different rotations. I think I can override that and ask specifically for North and South America, or I can ask for, you know, Australia, for example, Micronesia, whatever it might be, whatever the different regions are. I think there is a specific articulation of that, but if you don't use that specific articulation and use a more general emoji term, the browsers might actually pick up on that and select from a list of possibilities, not just a single thing. And so, anyway, I thought that was kind of neat that we saw that rendering today in the scripting of it. If we actually look at the scripting of it, you can see it here on line 43. Give me, oh my goodness, my screen just went dead again. Twice, and again, my screen, it's possessed. It's ultimately possessed. So let's go ahead and take a look at what did actually happen last week, and hopefully my screen will start to behave.
Well, Rocky's plans for Gidney and Cloyd to become the first Americans on the moon have hit a snag in the person of Senator Fussmusson of the Citizenship Committee.
Too many people are claiming to be Americans. Alaskans, Hawaiians, Californians. It's disgraceful.
Senator Axe to stop moon men.
We'll never get home again.
Nonsense. We're going to teach you to be American.
Yeah, time we get finished, you'll look as American as I do.
I'd really rather not.
Bring in our whole library of books, Bo.
Here they are, Rock. The Farmer's Almanac, the Bobbsey Twins at Camp Wahoo, and my personal bound volume of ghastly comics.
The boys set to work to convert the moon men, Gidney and Cloyd, into typical Americans. Unfortunately, their idea of what an American should know was rather limited.
Okay, Gidney. How many days in September?
30 days has September.
Right.
This is going to be brutal with dropping on my screen. I don't know if you can tell or not, but I'm guessing that I go maybe a little more tan periodically when my screen just completely goes blank. Hopefully it's just a loose wire. So last week what we did, if you access the slides, I posted a hyperlink in the comments. If you access them, you should be able to navigate them by using the wheel, the navigation wheel on your mouse if you have that. You can also use these arrows. The reason I mentioned, and you can use the keyboard up and down and left and right arrows as well. The reason I mentioned that is because last week we actually saw that there is the possibility to get a little creative in terms of the organization of your slides, and here's just kind of a visual representation of how these slides are organized. Along with this vertical stacking capability, there's also differences in controls in terms of how the arrow keys versus the mouse wheel versus hitting these visual cues operate. Now, hitting these visual cues is always going to operate exactly as you think it will. So if I hit up, I'm going to go up. If I hit down, I'm going to go down. And if I access a direct slide and go down, I'll go down. If I go to the right, I'm gonna move to that next stack. Now, where you move in that next stack is actually something that you decide as the person who creates these files. And the people who put this together, they actually give a pretty, what's probably a recommendation that's consistent with the Yiwei recommendation of let's not get too crazy with capabilities here. You're probably better off just keeping things simple. And so even though the Quarto people and even beyond the Quarto people, the Reveal.js people who are operating on this open source platform independent, I believe, relatively independently from Quarto, which is what we're using here. The Quarto authors are saying, you can do this, but probably be careful because if someone else accesses your slide deck, once you introduce this concept of horizontal and vertical stacking, it's possible that they're going to miss content that you don't intend them to miss. And so if we go back and look at the outline here, instead of just going first slide, second slide, third slide, fourth slide, if we have this vertical stack, now people have an option at this point of either going down and seeing what the content is or just proceeding to the right. And so the Quarto authors have a good caveat, I think, and they're like, well, you can do this, but if you do it, just beware that someone else that accesses your slides may find it a little confusing, which it actually is. I like using the mouse wheel, and the mouse wheel works just fine on this. If we just proceed across these by using the down, it's going to pick up on the progression that we actually have in the slide deck. Now, the other thing that we were playing with here were these transitions. And the transitions, there are, 6 different out-of-the-box options, and there's a hyperlink there if you want to follow that hyperlink. I'm having a hard time accessing it right now, but that hyperlink is active. It'll take you to a listing of those 6. We liked the convex because the animations in it kind of did like the cats. It rolled, so it rolls either left and right or up and down, whatever direction you're actually going. It's kind of a neat little rolling. You can change that speed too. The speed differences, they're not all that noticeable to me in terms of the 3 that are built in there. And then the navigation aspect that I was talking about, and the reason I was bringing up the arrow keys versus the mouse wheel versus the visual cues that you actually see is this navigation mode that you control in your YAML, the front matter of your document. That navigation mode is going to have an effect on how the arrow keys work versus the mouse wheel and even these visual cues, because there's an option called grid. And that grid option literally treats this as a grid. And so if you're, for example, on this penguin slide here, which I think this is the first time I've reused like an entire image or GIF in the 47 slide decks that we have here. I think it's the first time I reused one from the previous week, and I felt kind of guilty about it. So, but anyway, it's too cute and too appropriate, so I kept it. So if you're on this slide, you're going to have the option of pressing the right button. And in that grid configuration, that right button isn't going to take you to the top of the next vertical stack. That grid configuration is actually going to take you to it's going to take you to the kayakers here. So if let's go ahead and demonstrate that while we wait for, I think Diego's going to show up tonight, so that'll be fun. So while we wait for Diego, I'm going to change this. It'll just change it on my computer. The files that you can access, or the slide deck that you can access in the posted link is not going to change. You can see there again, the browser's interpretation of that globe emoji command. It's just taking at random. And this time I didn't get the rotated Earth. Um, but I want to go to my penguins, and now with a different navigation style indicated. Now, if I hit the right button, I shouldn't go to the top of the stack. I should just go to the next in that actual grid, and that is working like it's supposed to work. But you can see where, it's kind of neat, especially with transitions. You get to, you get to see the the spinning and the somersaulting and uh, the animations there. It is kind of neat, but you can see where people might get lost in your slide deck in terms of where am I supposed to go. There's just kind of too much there. So today we're just going to continue along with these slide navigation options, and my computer seems to be working a little better now, knock on wood. So hopefully I'll be able to see what I'm doing here. I did have a couple of windows pulled up, but I had to do a quick restart right before we started tonight. So I think I'm gonna have to search for those again. That's okay. It's not a bad idea for people to see how you do searches for these things. I don't know if I'm boomerang this, but I'm still using Google. I heard this morning of a newish or newer to me anyway search engine, like Perceptix or something. I actually heard pretty good things about it. It's something Amazon created or supports. I don't know if they created it, I guess, but they have some level of involvement with it, either Amazon or just Bezos. I'm not sure, but I don't remember. I don't actually remember the exact name of it, so we're not going to try it. We'll just try a standard good old Google, and I'm going to look for Quarto presentation. Multiplex was actually the feature that I wanted to go over tonight. Next week should be fun because next week, and I need Diego for this, but we're going to do, there was an AI assistance portal or a query engine or something of the sort. Who or that? It's a good question with AI. Are we supposed to say that or who? I guess I don't know. But this AI assistance tool is focused on developing Shiny apps, and Shiny is fun. We've had a few weeks where we focused on Shiny, and then we've had some kind of pot shots taken at Shiny, just not because it deserves it, just because the structure of the syntax is so unique to Shiny, and so we'll kind of at times say, "Oh, we're happy we're not working on a Shiny app right now." But there is this new AI assistant for developing Shiny apps, and Diego already tested it out. I haven't yet tested it out, but I think we'll do that next week. So next week will be a lot of fun. But this week, we're going to focus on these options that we have within Quarto presentations, and we're staying with these Reveal.js presentations just because they're so fun. I can't hardly imagine. I think I mentioned this last week too, but I don't know if I can imagine using a different default presentation platform at this point, just because I'm liking these Reveal.js slides so much. They're just a ton of fun. So we can play with the menu. So the menu is, if we go to my slides, the menu is here, this 3-bar thing. So we can actually play with that. I guess we can play with just the slide deck that we have instead of creating a new one. Maybe we'll, no, you know what? My slide deck is so customized at this point that it's got too much goop. So let's use, I think I did create a weekly test template QMD. And so we'll just use that. And you can see we were already using that last week. I forgot we talked about Farfig Nugan because I don't remember why we did that. But let's go ahead and give ourselves a different name here. We'll say playing with Reveal.js. And again, this HTML command that we have here inside the title is just going to give us a nice hard break. If you have something that's too long, that will actually be read and render fine, even though it's in the double quotes. So playing with reveal.js presentations. Uh, and then the author, this is typically where you put someone's name. Um, I've been using that space just to kind of give us a subtitle on these. So we can say, this is, who should we, Bullwinkle, I guess, Rocky and Bull, since they always feature so prominently. Um, and then I don't know that we want to play with the vertical stacking anymore, at least not today. So I think we'll just maybe use what seems to be the common convention, which is two two number signs, and those two number signs are indicating a new slide. So we'll just call it slide 1, slide 2, slide 3, and I was talking to one of our most loyal participants here on these weekly open office hours, and she did have a question about just how these slides look with content in them instead of just kind of blank, a blank. I'm sorry, titles, slide titles. So maybe we'll do that. Let's go ahead and put a couple of those in. You see how this looks without the fancy transitions that we've done. I've taken that out, and this YAML is now about as simple as you can be. So let's go ahead and put some content in. We'll put in some pictures of funny cats, and that'll be our content. That is so funny looking cat. Wait, something wrong with that cat's eyes. I don't think I like that. There's a more traditional looking cat, so we'll put that one in. And again, the exclamation point, square bracket, parenthesis format tends to work just fine. Now this image is coming in a little funny. It looks like it's actually okay. So slide 1. Sometimes if those URLs don't end, I think I hate AI. I don't know. Although this is kind of funny. This is more like a traditional 1990s meme thing than AI. But some of these, like the toast cat thing, come on, I don't. Wait, that might be real. That might be cat with his head through, or her head through toast. I'm not sure. Who knows anymore? There we go. That one looks like it's going to come in fine. We've got two orange cats. We can't. We got to have a little more diversity here with our felines. There's a. What do they call those? Calico? No. Calico is not right. I don't know. It's a very common pattern for cat. So gray and white and a little bit of black. Tabby, maybe? I don't know. I'm not sure. And then for all the dog lovers out there, we should probably have our fourth slide. We don't need to be totally overrun by cats, but they just tend to be funnier than dogs, I think. Dogs, I don't know. Here's a 1980s looking dog. That's I don't know why that speaks to me so much, but we'll go ahead and put a little canine diversity in with our felines here. Okay, and again, that one, I don't know, that URL looks funny, but it looks like it's coming through fine. If we want to, if you want to navigate this, just using the arrow keys here, and you'll see actually the default, if you play around with these reveal.js presentations much, you're going to see that the image size by default is also rendering kind of to the allocated space. And so we can play with that as well. But I think we'll just leave it for now. Let's go ahead and do, let's put one of our fancy rotating options in there. And so I'm just going to steal that from this week's slide deck. And so when we want to exert a little more control over the way in which our document is rendered, the way you do that is you hard return after the format, tab over for the thing you're trying to render to. In this particular case, it's a Reveal.js presentation. And then you tab over further within that, nested within that, to get the specification that you want. All I want is that convex transition. I think I should be able to do that without the navigation specification. So if we look at that now, we get the flipping that we thought was kind of cool. So I think let's keep the flipping, and then let's see what other options we can have here. Now, I think we do want to put navigation in there just to get those arrows showing up. Because those arrows, the location of the arrows is one thing that we're going to want to play with. So we said menu. We'll take a quick look at the menu. Aside width numbers. So those are our options, and they're all nested under this menu command here. And so we can just stack. So we'll stack it under Reveal.js here. So it looks like menu is going to be at the same level as the transitions. And let's actually comment out width for now and just see if we can transition that menu bar from the left side to the right side. And I don't have a good use case for that off the top of my head, but it's nice to know that that's built in as an option. It doesn't look like it did much in terms of the 3-bar, but it does come up upon accessing the 3-bar. So this is just default. I wonder what wide looks like if that's default. Maybe the default is wide. I guess this would be something you might find useful if you had really long titles on your slides, right? So that I could see maybe being useful. Our other options here were normal, third, half, full. Okay, so defaults to normal. Normal is the one we saw. Third, half, and full. Half and full, is that going to be the whole? I imagine it's the whole screen, right? I don't recall if you can look through the menu or not, if it has any transparency. No, it doesn't. So, okay. Yeah, those are pretty straightforward in terms of options. Not something I've ever played with, but side and width, it's good to know we have those. Numbers, I think, numbers I could see using, and so numbers are something that I've wanted on slides before. Now we don't have an option here of where numbers go. I'm guessing numbers true, but I don't know. We'll try that and see. It almost feels like it shouldn't be on the menu, right? So we'll try it here first because it's listed there. And I think there's a couple of ways to do numbers on these. It's probably going to add that in it added it. This makes sense. It added it in the menu itself, not on the slides. If we wanted to add it on the slides, we would do that outside of the menu option. Okay, so I think I'm going to put it back on the left, and I'm going to take it off of full. And because left is the default, we probably don't need it explicit. But let's use that third option, because we haven't tried that yet. I think that was an option. Yeah, third, half, full. Or any valid CSS length. Okay, so that's interesting. So that's going to be relative to the size of the container, and the container is going to be the size of your page. So we could use a lot of different options in there, but these are probably sufficient. I can't imagine needing more than that. We can hide the navigation menu. That's just going to hide the three lines there. So if we wanted to Was it hide? I forget already. Oh, menu false. So the menu will still be available. And maybe we'll come back to this too and see if we can still, even though it's false, we'll see if we can exert some level of control over where it does come up, how wide it is, and even that numbering. But I think the first thing we'll do is just, there we go. So now it's hidden. They say you can still get it using the keyboard shortcuts. So if we use, not full, I don't use the keyboard shortcuts enough to M. I guess M is the. So there we go. So it's coming up like we thought it would. The default look of it. Let's go ahead and uncomment these and see if we can get, even though it's hidden, we'll see if we can get that menu to come up on, and again, just so we can see it, that it's operating as we want it to. We'll put it back on the right side. And we'll leave those numbers in the menu for the, whoop, didn't like that. What didn't they like? It doesn't like the indentation I have after actually specifying false up here. So that's something I guess we could play with if we wanted to. Again, not a feature I'm all that keen on, so I don't think I'm gonna spend a lot of time on it unless someone has a request to do so. Um, Overview mode, we've played with that. You've seen that. Slide zoom I've been using quite a bit, and I think is a feature that uh, is really kind of speaks to the power of these revealed JS slides and just things in HTML in general. Um, that's a built-in that's a built-in level of dynamic kind of user control that just is so cool. And that just comes default. So we've certainly been using that quite a bit. So the slide zoom is cool. Speaker view, that's just an available option on the standard menu. Now this is something that I don't typically use. You can change the layout of this as well. If you have a lot of speaker notes, which I don't tend to use, but those speaker notes, if I remember, I think they're question marks, maybe 2 question marks. That might be the old markdown. We'll see how this renders. If it's not accurate, then it's not. So do quarto notes. I've used them a little bit, but I haven't used them a lot. So let's see here. Speaker notes. There we go. That's that doggone fenced div thing they get. Okay, so it's the curly bracket fenced divs. It's the double question mark. I think was in R Markdown. It might have just been single. No, it probably was double or triple question mark. So I the reason I had the reaction I did is I the more elaborate we get with things, the more of these fenced divs get just kind of wonky to navigate. So the speaker notes should now show up where we want them to if we enter that speaker view. And you can, you can put images in there. You can put emojis in there. We talked about the globe emoji earlier. If we wanted to just grab that using this inline art chunk, we can. And that will render just fine in the notes. But if we wanted to get a little more elaborate with something like the color of the text, or, oh, come on, no, it's not working, right? Figures. I'm not sure why that's not rendering. Sometimes these fence divs get a little wonky with spacing. And I grabbed the wrong emoji anyway. I grabbed the left right arrow, not the globe. Globe's a little more interesting. All right. I'm gonna have to play with that a little more in order to make sure that that renders. But if we wanted to, so I didn't want to put an emoji in there. I wanted to get a little more elaborate with what this actually looks like. And so, for example, if I wanted to, well, let's just move on. Okay, so notes you can see with the speaker view if you want to use notes. It also has that nice clock on it, the timed clock. I can see where that might be actually useful. It's picking up the local time here in the central time zone here on my computer, and it's showing the next slide. And again, you can change the way in which these are rendered, not only with these pull downs here, but we can do that in our YAML as well. I think we had one of these weeks where we did play with that a little bit. So the thing I really wanted to get to today, but I think I need Diego for it, is this multiplex option. Now, the multiplex option sounds kind of neat because the presenter controls how the slides are advancing on other people's machines. And so I think we're going to need Diego for that. So if we don't get to it tonight, we'll try that next week for sure. Here's the slide numbers that aren't in the menu, but on the slides themselves. And it's a pretty straightforward command. I'm not sure what print means here. I guess we can spend a little time and read it. You can add slide numbers to your presentation using the slide number option. Okay, thank you. You can also control in which contexts slide numbers appear. For example, here we configure slides numbers for printed output only. Oh, okay. So one of the features of these revealed JS slides is you can actually, I gotta move that back to the left-hand side because it's kind of fooling with me a little bit. You can export to PDF, and this works fairly well. The only thing that would be different here is anything interactive, something like a Plotly object that would look a little different. Hyperlinks are still fine. Hyperlinks are going to work fine here, but it sounds like we can actually control where the numbers are if you just want them, for example, to appear on something like a PDF. I'm assuming what that is. We'll go ahead and again we'll put this at the first level indentation heading with the expectation that if we don't specify that they are going to show up on our HTML slides as well. And there they are. It's kind of nice. By default they're appearing in the lower right hand corner. So slide 2 out of 5. Those aren't hyperlinked, it appears. So if we wanted to jump around, we can't. I guess it doesn't make sense to jump around there, right? Because it's going to show the number that you're on, so you couldn't jump to the slide that you're on because you're already on that slide. Okay, so that worked fine. Let's see what happens if we just limit it to where those slide numbers show up. And so my expectation is that these are going to show up on the print to PDF files, but not on the HTML. So it is missing on the HTML. If we go to, I said I was going to change that, didn't I? I'm going to change it next time. Slide overview was not what I wanted. I wanted PDF print. And they are showing up. They're kind of small here, but they are showing up on the right. So we might want to play with that a little bit too. If again you can customize all this stuff. Typically, it's just that you might need to use CSS. And so I'm getting more comfortable with CSS just because we're trying to customize so much. But there's definitely a learning curve on that. So I don't think we would probably, I don't know why we would limit it to that. It looks nice on the HTML files as well. So what I was hoping to get to tonight was not just multiplex, but I also wanted to get to controlling where the arrows appear on our slides. And so in order to control where the arrows appear, we are going to have to get more specific with the navigation mode. And so the navigation mode is going to give us those arrows. There might be another way to do this, so we'll see once we get to the help page option if there is another way to do it. But we should see now some arrows appear. They're not appearing on grid. They might not be appearing because we don't have any stacked slides. So maybe let's try a couple of stacks here. And see if that does anything to our grid specification. Yeah, so with that, when we're now creating differences in terms of vertical and nesting slides within other slides, so giving priority or hierarchy, then we are seeing those arrows come up. I think we can force the arrows anyway, so we may come back to this. But there you can see the vertical stacking there a little easier. And so when we do that, certainly we get those arrows. We're going to play with where those arrows are, and we can also come back to maybe trying to get those arrows without specifying navigation mode. I'm not sure I'm not sure how easy that's going to be. Slide number can be a format. It can specify a format as well, so we can do all of them. We can do the horizontal or vertical number. So this might do something within the stacks that we've just created. So slide number can also specify a format. This is a little interesting here. So I don't know. With these vertical slides, I don't think it's something that that I should be using or playing with. But I'm glad that that option is there. You're going to get lost in these things. So here we now have slide 1. And I guess if you're doing stacks, it does maybe make sense to number differently. What you've noticed here, or what you might notice, is that it's saying there's just this is number 1. It's the title slide. If I go to my next slide, this is a little confusing. It says it's 2 out of 1, 3 out of 1. I think that should be 1 out of 3 and 1 out of 2 instead. But if I go down, now I see that I have numbers that are counting just relative to that stack. And that picture now seems appropriate too. So this cat is saying, don't use vertically stacked slides. If you do, I'm going to hit you with a spatula. And that's kind of what I feel like in trying to use these slides. So I'm using that grid command. I'm getting so lost in here just navigating around. But the numbers are specific. Oh, you know what it is? It's H/V, so that's what it is. The command itself was telling us what it was going to be. It's giving us the horizontal number first and the vertical number second. It's just bizarre. So horizontally, this is number 3. Vertically, it's number 1 in this stack. And you see it go up. So it's kind of a row column specification thing. Wow. Okay. You'd really have to be on top of what you're doing in order to use that smartly, I guess is. So this should be the same instead of the slash. I guess I'm getting a dot there for that specification. I think I would prefer the dot because when we look at the horizontal slash, to me that looks very similar to the I'm on slide one out of however many, right? That's to me that's kind of the default interpretation of a format like that. The H dot V to me would probably to the user give a little more pause to being like, what the heck, what the heck is that? So horizontal, vertical, or right, is that even row and column? No, it's column row. They should have done it the other way. So it should be vertical, horizontal, right? To be consistent with the row first, column second. So everything in R and in math generally is row first, column second. So this is actually giving me column first and row second. So it's even, I don't like that. I really don't like that. It's just a little tiny thing, but it'd be so much better if it was v dot h rather than h dot v. Maybe, I don't know, let's try it. Maybe you can force it. Nope, didn't like that. So you can't force it. That to me is a design mistake. So that should have been vertical slides. I almost wish we wouldn't have come across vertical slides. They're more of a headache, I think, than they're worth. Only show in speaker view. Okay, we saw the PDF, but we didn't try the speaker view. PDF is pretty standard. You know what I've been using a lot more, and students teach me this. I don't know why I never thought of it myself, but that saving as a PDF in the print preview is such a nice feature that comes up by default now on Windows machines anyway. Print options, I don't think we care about that. I want to get to the navigation. We have just maybe 10 minutes or so. The tone is something that might be a good idea depending on the audience. And so for accessibility, that's a very considerate thing to have for visually impaired followers of your presentation. So I'm kind of, oh, wow. Hopefully we can change that. I don't know, that was not pleasant. So I'm not hearing the tone repeated, which I don't mind because I didn't like it at first. When it first came in, I definitely got a tone. I have a bunch of other audio stuff going on in the background, so that might be interfering with it. It might just be a little too soft. Tones increase in pitch for each slide from a low C to a high. Wow. Okay, stays the same for incremental slides. And this Jerningen, again, that was one of Yiwei's contributions, and that was the preferred format of slides that we were using before we ported everything over to Quarto, which Quarto has a lot more, it has a lot more people contributing to it, I think. And it has it has so many more uses. It's not just specific to presentations. It doesn't surprise me that we're seeing so many different options here on this. Auto slide kind of, I guess, in at conferences. I know one of the things that's been popular over the course of the last 7, 8 years or so has been in my field in industrial psychology. They're called fire sessions. I guess I'm not sure how they're referred to in other disciplines, but it's just a really fast presentation, and so it adds some excitement, I guess, to the seminar or the symposium or the presentation, whatever format it is. And so it's kind of fun because people are more likely to make mistakes and get flustered. And that's a stupid reason to be fun, but it does make it a little more fun. So we could kind of force this. The loop is true. I think that's probably just going to go back to the beginning, which normally we wouldn't want. Oh my God. Sorry if that, I don't know if that's cool or if that's like nauseating, but it's definitely fast. So I upped the speed on it. See if we can stop it here. There was a pause. Okay. Funny, pause, Pause, not pause, Paws. You can, by using the menu, if you, oh, please stop. If you can strategically hit the menu button without hitting the play pause button, you can actually go to a single slide and focus on that. So that's kind of cool. It's kind of funny how the preview is just going nuts here. Um, so that's nice. I'm going to render this again quickly so we don't, so nobody has a seizure while we're doing this. Let's see the other options. The one that I really wanted was the navigation option. Here we go. So I wanna control the location of those arrows. And the reason I want to is if you'll notice on the RStudio preview, I'm getting my navigation cues here in the lower right. But when I maximize the size of this, it's the same slides, it's the same content, but my navigation indicators are now pushed to the edge of the page. And so we should be able to control that. I kind of like this lower right option here. And so I believe we can control that. Multiplex, I do want to check out multiplex, but I think I need Diego for it, so that might have to actually wait. So controls is probably what we want, but I'm not seeing options for controls. So it might be in the advanced reveal options. So here's our vertical versus, here's our controls. Control layout, I think, is what we want. Yeah, by default, these controls appear at the edges of the presentation. You can also position them in the bottom right corner. So I guess maybe it is only those two. You can also provide an extra visual cue that the controls are available using the controls tutorial option. All right, so we'll definitely play with that. Let's see, the default again is upon preview, I'm seeing what I want to see. Upon big, but upon big, it's just pushed to the edge of the page here, these controls. So let's go ahead and put this, I'm going to take the slide number out since I hate it so much with the transposition, I would say, of rows and columns, even though it's called horizontal and vertical. The controls layout, now our expectation is upon maximizing the presentation, I'm still going to get the lower right here because I asked for bottom right. And so there it is. Yeah, I kind of like that. I don't know. It looks a little neater to me. So I like that we have that option. And again, in these vertical slides, I never changed that. In these vertical slides, if you get lost, you can just go to, actually, I'm just going to take that out because left is the default and we don't need it to be wide anymore. We've seen what that does. I kind of like how neat that actually looks, but when you get lost in here and just when you have these stacks and like I have 4 different directions to go on this doggone slide. That slide overview, just hit the O button, or it's very helpful. It's very nice in terms of just figuring out where the heck you are. You can exit it a few different ways, but if you just click on the slide that you're interested in, that's the easiest way that I've found to exit that. Okay, so nice. The only other thing I think we want to check out here is this tutorial. I have no idea what that is. It just says you can also provide an extra visual cue. Now, hopefully this isn't like something inappropriate. I can't imagine it would be, but I have no idea what an extra visual cue would be. I'm very curious. Oh, it's an animation. Now that's kind of neat. So I was not expecting that. So it's saying there's more down below. Now, it's not doing it left and right. It is upon hover giving me a little more information. but the bouncy bounce, I'm only getting the bouncy bounce on my vertical stacks. And it looks like I'm only getting that at the very top of my vertical stacks. So that's interesting. But so it's a little animation. I kind of like that. That's something that I think I might be tempted to use. Although we might have to give it a chill pill here because look at the thing. It won't stop. It's got like a tick. It's got an involuntary movement. It really wants us to go, okay, we'll go down if you really want it that bad. The computer really, really wanted us to see the cat burrito. And so we, of course, obliged. You can also disable the controls. Yeah, we don't. I like those controls. I think those controls are nice. Yeah, if you use the bottom right, that does make sense. If you use a logo, the default location of the logo is on the bottom right. You can change that with a little bit of CSS as well. That's not a huge deal. Touch navigation. If you're on an iPad or something, I can see where that would be interesting. Okay, so I think that might be it for just kind of navigation and the options for navigation. The one aspect that we didn't get to that I do want to at some point cover is that multiplex feature. And the multiplex, again, I was referring to it earlier today when I was publishing today's open office hours. The multiplex feature, I think I referred to it as a zombification of presentations. So it creates zombie presentation slides, so I can control. So the person who's delivering the presentation is in control of those zombie slides. So if you pull up the slide information on your local computer, you can just kind of sit back and watch because it'll mirror whatever I'm doing. And if that happened today, I probably would have made everyone sick and nauseous because that auto rotation in particular was just seasick inducing, I think. But okay, so we got our pretty cats, and next week I think we might spend a little time on that multiplex option if Diego shows. I do need, I think, a helper on that one. So hopefully Diego shows up next week and we can do that. And then certainly if he shows up, I think we're going to look at that digital AI assistant for building Shiny apps. That looked really neat, and the feedback that I've gotten just kind of informal feedback on people that have taken a look at it. I've actually now from 3 different people been told that it's pretty impressive. So I think next week that's what we'll do. We'll do multiplex a little bit, and it'll be a bit more of a split. So I usually try to have a consistent theme on these. But I think next week we might try to split it and do a couple of different things. Okay, that's it. Good night, everybody. Thanks for showing up.